Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. Okay, so assalamu alaikum again. Hope you guys can hear. Hope the guys' sound is working well. And if it's not working well, please let me know, inshallah. So I'm gonna try to sort something out for this. Okay, so let me just try to get this. When it gets done. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to try to do a shorter session, not get it all the way down to 12 o'clock midnight. No, do this. Okay, let me just try to see how this works. وعليكم السلام الشيخ أليم الرحمن أهلا وسهلا وعليكم السلام why now وعليكم السلام S Hussein. Okay, so I'm just trying to sort out this chat box. Okay, so let's get this there. Right, so you guys can see, you guys can hear. Alhamdulillah. Why now you beat MP today? Alhamdulillah. Said Ahmed, ahlan wa sahlan. Marhaba, welcome to this channel. Alright, so let's have a start then, inshallah. Right, so I don't have any questions on Curious Cat today. Interesting. So what I've done is I've answered a lot of them on there. That's, I think, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Walaikum assalam, unknown. So I did kind of knock some out. Answered some of them. Alright, so let's start then. Let's get the ball rolling, guys. Okay, so let's start. Ready, guys? Saturdays come real quick. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That sounds like a good sign that you guys are looking forward to them, or I don't know. Maybe it's just the way life is so busy. Alright, so let's start then. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay. Alright, so let's have a start of the questions. Remember, guys, you can post the questions in the side, or what you can do is you can just Curious Cat it. Yeah, so I've left the Curious Cat link in the bar that's going down. Yeah, so you can just Curious Cat it, inshallah. Alright, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First question. Is machine slaughtering halal? What if they have Bismillah playing on the background? Right, so two questions here. First question is machine slaughtering halal? So first of all, let me explain about machine slaughtering so you guys have a better understanding of how, from a fiqh point of view, it's seen. So the Quran says that do not eat anything upon which the name of Allah has not been recited. Meaning that do not eat anything which has not been slaughtered in the name of Allah. So what does this mean then? So this means those animals that Allah has said you can eat, like cows and sheep and goats and camels, right? Those animals, you're not allowed to consume them unless they have been slaughtered, in the name of Allah, basically, right? You said Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and they've been slaughtered. That's like the main sort of point that the Quran is putting forward. Now, this can be done by a Muslim. This can be done even by a Christian or a Jew. It's fine. I mean, it'll be accepted. The meat will be considered to be halal. So halal, when we have this idea of halal is a very broad term. So like I said to you, as long as the animal has been slaughtered in the name of Allah, and it's done by a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew, then according to Quran, that meat is considered to be halal and you can consume it. Now, machine slaughtering, on the other hand, so if you use a machine to slaughter an animal, so technically, are you slaughtering the animal or is the machine doing it? So this is where you have this kind of like technicality, of, well, you are slaughtering it, even if the machine's doing it, the machine doesn't have a life. So the machine doing it consciously, someone was pressing the button when they started the machine. So the machine slaughtering it is technically you slaughtering it. So some of them have argued that the machine is simply an extension of the human body. Just like, for example, a car is an extension of a human being, and a computer is an extension of a human being, and microscope is an extension of a human being's eyesight. So this is why some of them have argued that it's fine, because it's simply an extension of the human being. The other one is that no, you can't, because the Quran, like the haqiqa meaning of that which you have said the name of Allah upon or slaughtered, is basically you slaughtering, like you as in you slaughtering it. So therefore, if you were to put the machine on and the first one got slaughtered, that might be you slaughtering it, but the rest of them, it's not you. It's just a process that's taking place. So if, for example, like you had this machine on all day and it was just slaughtering non-stop, you're not slaughtering it, and also you won't be saying Bismillah on each one. So anyway, these are like the two sort of camps that you have here. And I know there are people who actually are on the position that the first one's permissible, and I know there's others who say no, the first one's not permissible, it's only the first. So to be safe, like if you want to be extremely safe, you take the second opinion. That's if you want to be extremely safe. But there is scope for the first opinion according to some of the scholars. Now, what if they have Bismillah playing? So like we said, the other problem with this machine slaughtering is they have like a blade that's just running, and the animal will pass by and the animal's throat will get cut. Right, so they have this. But they won't have someone saying Bismillah. So you have this issue of, okay, so if a person's not saying Bismillah, will that first Bismillah be counted when they press the button to start the machine rotor spinning? Will that be counted as a single Bismillah for all slaughterings? Or does there have to be a Bismillah for each one? So if the machine is spinning, does there have to be someone saying Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah like that? And then you have like, some of the other opinion, the Shafi position and others, which say that you have to physically say Bismillah. As long as you're a Muslim and you intended Bismillah, that's sufficient. So you have that issue. And therefore, playing in the background, would this be allowed or not? So, I mean, technically, a recording is not really considered to be an act of ibadah in itself. So therefore, the Bismillah seems to be an active act of ibadah. So that's why there has to be something which is like, continuously happening actively. So this is why, the reason I explained it like this is so you guys understand where this whole sort of ikhtilaf, difference of opinion stems from, right? What's the origins of this and how much scope is this? So like I said to you, there are scope for this. Now, if you think about the past, when people were slaughtering, the slaughtering would have been done, like very few number of animals would have been slaughtered per day. But now you have like, I have a friend who's a colleague as well, where I teach, and he just returned actually back from his country, Panama, and his family has a slaughtering house. Well, they don't have a slaughtering house, they actually rent a slaughtering house that belongs to non-Muslims, and then they use it for a certain number of hours in the day, and they like slaughter something like, I don't know how many thousand animals a day, right? So if you think about it, now you have the sheer volume, population has increased, you have the sheer number of animals you have to slaughter in a day, and then you have lots of these issues, which is, do we take the easy approach? Do we stay strict in this issue? So you have this kind of, so naturally you are going to get some people who are quite strict, and you are going to get some people who are quite lenient. Okay, next question. All right, I'll check out some questions here now. So Crypto M, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan. Crypto M Your thoughts on the coronavirus, how bad will things get? So I'm not a doctor to be able to tell you how bad things are going to get, right? If I was a doctor or if I was a scientist and pathology was my area of expertise, then I'd probably be able to give you a nice presentation on it. But unfortunately, guys, I've studied 9 years, Islamic sciences, but I haven't studied medicine. So I can give you the best guess that most of you guys can come up with, right, from what you guys have read. I don't know. I mean, it seems as though it's going to be an illness that's going to stay on Earth for a very long time. Yeah, it's not going to get eradicated. We're just going to have to get used to it. It's here to stay, and it's just a matter of time before it just spreads around the entire world and everyone's affected by it. Just like the common flu and common cold, right? I think that's how it works. Allah knows best. I don't know exactly. Okay, next question. Okay, I was always taught that when it comes to the urine of a breastfeed baby boy, it can be cleaned by sprinkling water on it, and Hanafis go against the Hadith. Can you please kindly explain? Yes, so this is a good question. So it comes in Hadith. So we know, first of all, urine of human beings is impure, right? So that's something which all scholars agree. Urine of human beings is impure. But when it comes to baby girls, everyone agrees that baby girls' urine, in a hadith, is mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said that يُغْسَلُ بَوْلُ الْجَارِيَةِ وَيُنْضَحُ بَوْلُ الْغُلَامِ. The urine of a baby girl who is breastfeeding is washed like normal urine, and the urine of a male boy is sprinkled on, right? So I'll explain what that basically means. So there's this difference between a boy who is breastfeeding from the mother and a girl. So what the Shafi'is and the Malikis and they say is that all you have to do is just take a handful of water and you just sprinkle it on the urine. So if a boy has done urine on your clothes, sprinkle it and you wash it. And the reason for that is because it comes in a hadith where there was a Sahabi, where there was a lady, and she brought her child or her a child to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ was holding the child, and the child urinated on the Prophet ﷺ's dress. So the lady got very embarrassed, and she said to the Prophet ﷺ, "O Messenger of Allah, give me your shirt and I'll wash it." The Prophet says, "Okay, don't worry, just give me some water." And he took some water, and the wording used is nadaha, nadaha, and he just like wiped it off. So therefore, like, does this mean now that it's all right to just sprinkle, just like get a spray gun, one of the sprinkling spray guns, and just spray water on there and it's clean? So the Hanafis say, when we take all the narrations into account of all the wordings that have been used, because remember, most hadith, like you can probably say 90 to 95% of a hadith that we have, the wording is not the exact wording from the Prophet ﷺ. Maybe many of you guys don't know this, but the scholars, the muhaddithin, say most of the hadith that we have, it's not the same wording as the wording of the exact wording of the Prophet ﷺ. And that's one of the main reasons why scholars do not use this as considered to be evidence in Arabic grammar, because it's not exactly the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Someone in the chain has altered the words, as in they've explained it in their own way. Does that make sense? So this is why if we collect all the hadith and the versions of this hadith, we find that some versions say the word rasha, sprinkle. Some say nadaha. Some say ghasl khafif. So there's like various wordings that are found. So the Hanafis say, basically, because a boy was generally something that the way that the anatomy of the boy is, where when it urinates, the boy will urinate and it comes out in like a thin line, and you know exactly where it goes. Whereas when a woman urinates, or a little girl urinates, the urine comes out splashing everywhere and it's quite heavy. It's heavy drops, so it absorbs into the material very, very quickly. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he said about the boy's urine, he said just wash it in an easy way. That's what he was saying to the people, wash it in an easy way. So the Hanafis say, look, because of the various wordings, then yes, the washing is not going to be the same as an adult's urine, but it has to be washed though. It still has to be washed. So it shows that it is impure, but the method of purification is different. Right, the method of purification is different. So that's why the Hanafis look at the multiple hadith, whereas the Shafis and others, they actually just look at one type of wording which says rasha, and they take the meaning of rasha to mean sprinkle. But we say in the Arabic language, if you look linguistically at how the Arabs use this word, it wasn't always for like we understand sprinkling in that sense. Yeah, does that make sense? So that's basically why so Hanafis do not go against the hadith. What the Hanafis do is the Hanafis they prefer to look at all the different versions of the hadith and to come out with something which is more holistic of the the different versions of the hadith. CSDF, wa alaikum assalam, jazakallah khair, mashallah, mashallah. You're making me go red now, so I'm gonna have to quickly skip you now. Okay, next question. My son asked me a question and I wasn't able to answer. He asked me, where is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? When we say salam to him in Masjid Nabawi, he hears us and replies to our salams. But where is he in actuality? I know that Brailwis believe in he is Hazir Nazir. Is that why Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe? Okay, so all right, so this is a question. It's a good question. First of all, I would like to just say something that Brailwis are part of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is a big group, and Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Brailwis, Deobandis. If people obviously differ and they want to remove a certain group from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, as long as they've got the CEO title, then they can do whatever they want with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But alhamdulillah, no one has the CEO title of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, so technically no one can take anyone out and put anyone into Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So that's cleared up. So when it comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so let's look at some facts. So first of all, we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, right? That's clear. That's something that no one can deny. The second thing that we know is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned in numerous hadith that the prophets, when they die, the earth does not consume their body. Second, number 3 is that the prophets are alive, right? The prophets are alive. However, now here is where it becomes where it becomes something that we don't have like categorical evidence for it. So for example, like, what does it mean by the prophets are alive? As in exactly what state? Like, I'm alive, you're alive, right? So what does it mean? So does it mean alive like us, or does it mean alive as in like Allah says about the martyrs in the Quran, that don't say that the martyrs are dead, rather they are alive, being sustained by their Lord? So does it mean that, or does it mean that they are in a different realm, like a different dimension that we can't communicate with, right? We can't communicate with a different dimension. Does it mean that? And then, how does this exactly work? We don't know the details to this, so we can only speculate, right? And when it comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he, according to the hadith, if you look at all the hadith, he can't hear us, right? So this ability for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to hear, this is something which is unique to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah can hear every single thing in the entire universe. He is Sami'. And yes, Allah can make the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam hear something by conveying whatever someone says through an angel to him. And this is something which comes in a hadith as well. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that on Fridays, whenever you send salam to me, angels bring your salam to me, right? So these are evidences. However, these evidences are not as categorical as the evidences of the first 3 things I mentioned to you guys. So this is why now this idea of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where is he? So he is buried in Masjid Nabawi, right? So currently, which is now Masjid Nabawi, but previously it wasn't part of Masjid Nabawi. It was an annex. And the other thing is that we know that he is alive, but the life that he has, we don't exactly know the details of that life, right? So it's a life which is beyond our understanding. And yes, when we send salutations to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when we're there near the grave, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he can hear us. Yeah, Allah gives him the ability. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Allah puts my soul back into me, and I can respond to them, their salams. So personally, I think that's as far as we should go. And then to go into all these nitty-gritty details and granular kind of like understanding of all of these things, this is something that we should try to refrain from, because otherwise all this does, it just creates this kind of like ikhtilaf, and then people start causing fights over these things. And I've seen it happen in Pakistan, where people have resulted in people calling each other kafir, or because of certain aspects of belief they have with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the evidences are not categorical enough, right? And it's unfortunate that because of this, Muslims are fighting one another. They don't pray behind one another, and they call each other so many names because of this. May Allah protect us. Okay. Next questions here. Okay, Nobeen Islam. MashaAllah, Nobeen. Ahlan wa sahlan. Marhaban. So, Mufti Saab, what is the ruling regarding to short back and side haircut? What constitutes a halal haircut? So first of all, there's nothing in the Quran to say that haircuts are haram. Nothing at all. There's no like verse in the Quran that says this haircut's wrong and this haircut's right. No. What we get is, in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, we haven't found any incident where Sahaba had a particular type of haircut and the Prophet ﷺ told them off for this. We don't have any record except for one where a young boy was brought to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked the parents, he said, what's this? Like, what kind of a haircut is this? So what they had done, we don't exactly know the details of what had happened to the hair, but it's just described as being like patchy clouds. So, you know, in the sky when there's like patchy clouds, one cloud here and one cloud there and one cloud over there. So it's just basically like that. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, look, either cut it all off or let it grow. So this is why now the scholars are thinking, why is the Prophet ﷺ telling off about this haircut? Does it mean that Islamically haircuts are wrong and there's only a certain type of uniformed haircut that men and women can have? Or does it mean that simply the Prophet ﷺ saw a young man, a young boy, with a haircut that looks so disgusting, like it didn't even fit the kind of haircuts you'd have in society, and he told the parents off for not maintaining the appearance of the child. So this is where this idea of haram haircut seems to stem from. And like I said, the Hanafi books do not, they actually discuss haircuts, but the only time they discuss haircuts is when the haircut resembles a religious group. So Imam Ibn Abidin and others have discussed this in great detail. Like they've said, in fact, they've even said things like this. They've said, you're allowed to shave the top of your head, leave the sides long, and then in another fatwa, someone has said, actually, no, you can't have the sides long, you need to tie it. And then some of them said, no, you can't even cut the fringe because some religious groups, they like the monks, they used to cut their fringe. And then some of them said, you can't like shave the top of your head because there's some people in our area, religious people, like monks, who shave the top of their head and let everything else grow. So you see, what was happening was, historically, if you had a timeline, you can see different scholars in different parts of the world were giving fatwa to people and it was being recorded over the years, but the context of the fatwa we're not too sure about. Yeah, so it was clearly, scholars were seeing that particular religious regions or religious groups were having certain types of haircuts, and they were telling the people, look, this is not our identity. If this is one of their like emblems of their religion, we have to clearly stay away from it. That's what it was. So I think people have got this haircut issue wrong. They kind of like just going OTT in this haircut issue, and it's like they've created their own chapter of fiqh about the chapter of haircuts, which, in Hanafi fiqh, at least we don't have anything like that. Okay, hope that answers that. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. The Quran suggests that Allah breathed a soul into Adam alayhi salam in the following verses. So when I have fashioned him completely and breathed into him, Adam, the soul, which I created for him, then fall down prostrating yourselves unto him. فإذا سويت ونفخت فيه من روحي فقعوا له ساجدين. When Allah says He breathed a soul into Adam alayhi salam, it seems very anthropomorphic, almost as if the soul got transferred by being ejected from Allah and then absorbed into the body of Adam alayhi salam. This seems very unfitting for Allah. My question is, are we allowed to reject the literal meaning of the verse? Is there a metaphorical interpretation of this? Yes, so good question, very good question. So the reason why this question comes up, and you never had this question in the time of the Sahaba, we never have like any sort of reports of Sahaba asking this question. We have it now. There's a clear reason for this. It's because our lack of understanding of Arabic language. Like, I'm not saying like if you've studied like 3 or 4 years Ajurumiyya and Sharh Qatr al-Nada and Mughni al-Labib and all these books, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the Sahaba's understanding of the Arabic language at their time was the Arabic language in which the Quran was revealed. So they understood exactly what Allah meant when He says things like istawa al arsh, or when He said yadullahi fawqa aydihim, yeah, He established Himself on the throne, or His hand is above their hands, or like this, He blowed into him, yeah, from His soul. All of these things were understandable because it was the language of the Arabs, right? And so this is why now, because we're a very sort of like, I call this a kind of like a very mathematical, we're living in a very mathematical time where we try to analyze everything through a logical process. So that's how we learn in school. We learn things because we want to break down things in a very logical process. And so even languages, we want to break down languages. We want to break down how people say things, expressions, which is not a natural way of learning a language. It's a very unnatural, it's a very like a laboratory kind of, I don't know if that's a good word for it, a laboratory, a very sanitized way of looking at language. And that's what causes so much ikhtilaf and lots of these aqidah issues. That's why I don't like delving into a lot of these aqidah issues, simply because a lot of people that are asking these questions do not have a full grasp of classical Jahili Arabic. That's one of the biggest problems. And I'm not saying this is my teacher said this, Sheikh Anwar Badakhshani, he used to say this. So, okay, so when Allah says, إِذَا سَوَيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي, yeah? So what you'd have to look at now is, if you want to understand this question properly, you'd have to look at all the phrases in the Quran where Allah mentions and attributes an action directly to Himself, right? So when He attributes actions to Himself, for example, like سَوَّاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَوَاتٍ, like He created the earth, the skies directly, or He sent a messenger from Himself, yeah? بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولٌ min anfusihim. What does that exactly mean? From themselves, or any of those kind of sort of like sentences. Then we put them all together. Then we try to make a picture of how Arabs in them days would say things. So this is why my advice would be, instead of trying to pick out each one, try to do a full thorough investigation of all these ayats. Then you get a bigger picture. Yeah, a better picture. Anyway, are we allowed to reject the literal meaning? Yes, we obviously do. That's what we do. Yeah, and this was actually, there was actually a Christian who actually he raised the question in the Quran, and he says that Isa alayhi salam, the ayats of regarding Isa alayhi salam, that he was waruhun minhu. What's the ayah again? وَرُوحٌ مِّنْهُ. One second, let me just find this. Yeah. So look at this. So this says about Isa alayhi salam, yeah? يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ لَا تَغْلُوا فِي دِينِكُمْ. Do not go extreme into your religion. وَلَا تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْحَقِّ. Do not say about Allah except that which is true. إِنَّمَا الْمَسِيحُ عِيسَى بْنُ مَرْيَمَ. The Messiah is only Isa, the son of Maryam. Rasulullah. Or the Messiah, Isa Maryam, is only a messenger of Allah, whichever you want to translate it. وَكَلِمَتُهُ, and he is His word, أَلْقَاهَا إِلَى Maryam, which He threw upon Maryam. وَرُوحٌ مِّنْهُ. So Christians said, look, ruhun minhu, a soul from Allah. So therefore Jesus is part of the Trinity, because Jesus, Isa, is from Allah, minhu. So there was this is a debate. So the Muslim turned around and said, okay, so when Allah talks about creating the skies, and in one part of the Quran He says, sab'a samawatin, I can't remember the exact verse, but the word over there that was used was also minhu. Yeah, that was minhu, from Him. So does that mean the whole sky and everything is from Allah, is part of Allah, and it came out of Allah? This is where we have to study Ilmul Kalam. Ilmul Kalam does justice to this kind of topic. It discusses it, it breaks all these kind of issues down, those kind of logical sort of arguments that are presented. It kind of gives them a structure, like a very sound structure that we can work with. Yeah, template. So this is why, going back to this question again, see what this is. So going back to this question again, so are we allowed to reject? Yes, the scholars do reject the literal meaning, right? They say that this is something which is goes against laysa kamithlihi shay, because having a ruh that comes from Allah, the literal meaning of the ruh coming from Allah, that was blown into Adam, this is something which is, and this could mean so many things. This could mean, for example, what is the soul itself? We don't even know what the soul is. We don't know if it's like an entity that enters the body. We don't know if it's something which is distant, like a Wi-Fi connection with the body. We don't know if it's the whole concept of consciousness. We don't know. We don't know. Seriously, we don't know. There's about 600 opinions that some of them have mentioned of scholars over the years. Is there a metaphorical interpretation of this verse? Yes, definitely. It's a metaphorical interpretation. Just like with anything in the Quran, which Allah mentions, like Allah says He is everywhere. So we do not take the literal meaning that Allah is everywhere and He is closer to you than jugular vein, that Allah is closer in your body, because that goes against the idea of the uniqueness of Allah. Right? It goes against laysa kamithlihi shay, nothing is like Him. Anyway, I thought I'd explain that. Right, let's look at it next. Question. Question. Is the money of those who don't pray, non-Muslims, halal for us, and also whose money is mixed with riba income? So money of those who don't pray, non-Muslims, yes, is halal for us to take. And if you're not happy to take it, Sheikh Alim, then please, I'll give you an address to send it to, and inshallah it will be spent correctly in the right places. And those who are, so whoever's money is mixed with riba, so riba is obviously something which you're not allowed to take, but if it's mixed with halal income, then you can assume that whatever they're giving you is from the halal income. That's allowed. According to Hanafi scholars, they allow that. Okay, CSDF, salam alaikum salam. Would it be possible for you to do intensive Arabic course, like a summarized summation of 17 lessons, or a fiqh of salah once a month instead of a Q&A? I know you want that. So you see, what I want to do is I always want to have a live Q&A, always have that, because I believe that people have the right to have their questions answered by someone who has, some sort of qualification in this. So this is why I do this. Otherwise, I would be doing something else. And the reason why I do this is simply because I want this to be something which is provided for in the community. Yeah. So a lot of people, alhamdulillah, you guys have told me you guys benefit from this, and you guys can't get access to people to ask your questions to. So I do have other courses which you can attend. You can do the pre-recorded lessons, 17 lessons pre-recorded one. Another thing I want to understand is that why is a wife supposed to walk behind her husband? Why is she? I don't know. Who said that? She's supposed to walk behind her husband. Unless she's like spying on her husband, walking behind her husband. Okay, so Nabi Islam, your question has already been answered. Okay, next. Assalamu alaikum Muhammad. My dear brothers and sisters who are watching this program, let me question, how can we read Arabic without vowels? Yeah, so if you join the 17 lessons inshallah course, I have a 17 lessons Arabic course, and you can see it going down on the bar down there. If you contact the email there, you can do it. It's for £50. The whole course is £50. You join the course, lessons are sent out to you, you do the homework, you send it, your homeworks get marked, and inshallah in 17 lessons you should be able to have a good level, be able to read Arabic texts without vowels. Okay, mashallah. Zaba, mashallah, sister Zahra, mashallah, sister Zahra. Assalamu alaikum. Genders in terms of Arabic language, are gender specific roles like father should only be applied to men? However, if there is a same sex marriage relationship, would we still? A good question. I don't know. Good question. Yeah. The word for father in Arabic is ab, and for mother is I don't think the Arabs ever had in the past an issue where they had a gender. This is a new thing. I don't know. Might be a good kind of thing to look into. Good question. CSDF, salam alaikum salam. Video course on learning Arabic in Arabic to help build vocabulary. Yeah, I've got some. Yeah, I've got some. Check out my Malfluti series. I've got that. I've got Imam Shafi, poetry. Check that out as well, inshallah. Okay, Cyrus, mashallah, ahlan wa sahlan wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. From Singaporean. Unknown era. Do you consider Salafis to be from the Ahlul Sunnah? Why not? Why shouldn't they be? If obviously, if anyone, whether it's Salafi or Deobandi or Barelvi or anyone comes out with an Aqidah issue that goes against the agreed upon Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah beliefs, then obviously I wouldn't consider them Ahlul Sunnah, like Mu'tazila or someone like that. But Salafi depends. I mean, see, the term Salafi itself is such a broad term people use nowadays. It's like there are so many different types of Salafis, just like there's so many different types of YouTube channels. You get all sorts of types. Yeah, many different. Okay, are you allowed to eat deer meat? Yes, of course, and I really want to try it, guys. And the day I try it, inshallah, I'm going to make a video. Sufyan, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban. Kamran, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, let's see questions here. There are hadith which say that the ajwa date is a remedy for poison. Are ajwa dates really the antidote to poison? If not, why did the Prophet ﷺ say this? So again, the answer to this question is simple. We don't know the context of what the Prophet ﷺ meant when he talked about, for example, the black seed being a cure for everything besides death, and eating 7 ajwas in the morning would save you from illnesses, poison. We don't know the context. Maybe the Prophet ﷺ was talking about a particular types of poisons that existed in the Arab Peninsula. Right. This is why studying hadith should be done rather than just reading translations of hadith. Reading translations of hadith, I would personally say, is one of the biggest fitnas that modern era has seen. And this is one of the reasons for why so many people have objections against Islam, and unfortunately many people have left the fold of Islam because of the fitna of translation. Yeah, and I don't recommend anyone read translations of hadith. It was never designed for mass consumption. It's always designed for study. So whenever we have a hadith, there's lots of things that we have to always think about, right? So when the Prophet ﷺ said a statement, did he say it to everyone? Was he saying it to everyone till the Day of Judgment? Was the context of the hadith supposed to only be for that time? Was it supposed to be for all times? So are there any other versions of this hadith? Is this the exact wording of the Prophet ﷺ? Are there any alterations that taken place? So when the Prophet ﷺ says these things about this kind of like idea of the poison, being a shifa for the poison, protecting the poison, it doesn't necessarily mean for all poisons till the Day of Judgment, right? It doesn't mean that, right? What it means is talking about certain types of poison and because there's so many types of poisons. The concept of poison itself, I mean, I'm not like a scientist who'd be able to tell you this, but I guarantee you, if you go and ask someone who's an expert and tells you all the different types of poisons in the world, what poison means, what thing constitutes as a poison, what's the difference between something that is toxic to you and something that's a poison to you? Is cigarettes poison to you? If a person eats ajwa and smokes, will they ever die from cancer? Is cancer a poison? Is chemotherapy a poison? There are so many questions. This is why, like I told you, translations of hadith are the biggest fitna, unfortunately, for modern times. So anyone reading hadith without studying it in a structured way is putting themselves into dangerous water, I would say, personally. Yeah, so this is my answer to that. Okay, next. The demise of the Prophet ﷺ is mentioned as a sign of Qiyamah. Why is demise mentioned as a sign of Qiyamah? Because doesn't everyone's death, in all honesty, signify that we are getting close to Qiyamah? Okay, so good question. First of all, there's several things we have to understand. The Quran mentions that before the Day of Judgment comes, there will be signs, right? فَقَدْ جَاءَ أَشْرَاطُهَا. When the Quran is revealed, the Prophet Allah says in the Quran, its signs have started. Yeah, like it's like started. This earth coming into existence is a sign of the Day of Judgment. Adam alayhi salam coming into existence is a sign of the Day of Judgment. All of these things are a sign of the Day of Judgment. In other words, for the Day of Judgment to occur, there has to be like what's that kid story where there's little kids, they throw the crumbs, the breadcrumbs. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? Where they throw the breadcrumbs and they kind of like search for the breadcrumbs. So everything that happens on earth are all signs of the Day of Judgment. Because in other words, they are all precursors to the Day of Judgment. Every single thing that happens before it. But when the Prophet ﷺ says certain things are a sign of the Day of Judgment, it's like these are things which are very, very significant in how, like, history of how the future is going to map out. So the demise of the Prophet ﷺ was definitely 100% something that had a massive effect on the ummah. So it's like as though you can imagine like this, that the Prophet ﷺ is showing that the signs of the day of judgment are going to be things that are going to be like global, mass, affecting everyone, right? So this is why that's how we look at it. So the Prophet ﷺ demise, it's not like our demise. Our demise, if I die, right, it's not really going to have a big dent on earth. But the Prophet ﷺ passing away, until now, even we still feel the impact of that, of the impact he had on the Sahaba, the impact he had on the leadership of the Muslims, the impact he had on, the Shia Sunni split came after that. Muslims after that began to split up in their khilafas. We had this idea of slowly as time went by, even till today, problems that we have. Yeah. So this is why, it's very Hansel and Gretel. That's the one, Hansel and Gretel. Jazakallah khair, Paul. Thank you very much. Yeah. So this is why, it's all about this idea of like massive things that are going to happen on earth, massive events. So this is why these are referred to as the signs. Okay, teachers of tajweed in this day and age teach tajweed in a structured manner. They go through the rules of tajweed such as idgham, ikhfa. They go through the different names of mads and explain the application of tajweed. Did the Prophet ﷺ teach tajweed to the companions in a structured manner like this? And did the companions teach tajweed to the tabi'un in a structured manner like this? Good question. It's an excellent question. So, what is tajweed? The main thing is, what is tajweed? So I think a lot of people who study tajweed, they don't understand what tajweed is, right? So they think tajweed is this science which has been frozen from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's something that comes hand in hand with the Quran, and it's just like the Quran is taught. Tajweed has been taught from the Prophet ﷺ's time all the way till today, which is unfortunately not true. This is the popularist understanding, like a pop understanding that they say. So it's like lots of people think this, but not necessarily true. Tajweed is, I would say like this, look, it's a very logical way of preserving the dialects and the pronunciations of the Arabic language, or more specifically the Quran. This is what it was. So when Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was asked, what is tajweed? He said two things. He said correct pronunciation and where to stop. That's all tajweed was. So in other words, when the Prophet ﷺ's time, when the Quran is revealed, the Arabs' language was naturally 90% of tajweed was already there. Yet 90% of tajweed already existed because it was their language. Like for example, let's say someone writes an article in English and I read this article. I do not need any training in English language to be able to read the article. Totally fine. But the problem is that now in a 500 years time, when the people in the 500 years will be speaking a dialect of English that's going to be totally different from today, just like 500 years before, the dialect of English was very different. For them to know exactly how I spoke, they would need to learn some sort of like rules of how to pronounce. And I would advise you to look at two things. There's this YouTube channel called Native Language. Yeah, it's a very it's like it's designed by some non-Muslims. It's made and it talks about world languages, and it's like a kind of like animated as well, and it's very useful. I mean, I look at that and I see how much it benefits people in understanding how Arabic language evolved and intricacies required to understand Arabic grammar. Right, it's a very useful resource. That's one. And the second is look at how people, when they, when these actors are taught how to change their accent, right? They have to do this kind of go through elocution or whatever it's called, articulation classes. It's just similar to that. It's just articulation classes. That's all we're learning, right? And that's pretty much what the early years realized they had to preserve. They had to like store it. Otherwise, future generations will not know how. And in that native language, one of the episodes, they talk about how in today's times there is these big difference of opinions of how Latin was spoken, right? Latin, it's a written language, but unfortunately, because they didn't have tajweed rules for Latin at that time, they don't exactly know how Latin was spoken. Like a lot of the words, pronunciations, they don't know. Likewise, things like, what do you call it? Hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs, they can translate it, but they don't exactly know how the Egyptians spoke it. Like, they don't know what sounds came out of their mouth. Yeah. All right, next. Check out some here. Okay, so Mushuman, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Can a woman take contraceptive pills in order to not miss Ramadan? Yes, she can. Not because of fear of missing reward, but just because continued to purpose. Yes, she can do it, but what I would say is tell her to speak to her doctor, because the pills might have an adverse effect on her reproductive system, and for some women, unfortunately, it can cause them to have future problems with fertility as well. So I would say speak to the doctor, get everything checked out, and then go for it. Okay, why now? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Weather beats, and about reindeers, can we sacrifice one for Eid al-Adha? I don't know. Allahu a'lam. Yeah, I don't know. Wallahu a'lam. Weather beats, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Maybe you can. I don't know. But according to Hanafis, it's either goat or cows, goat, sheep, cows, and camels. That's what's been mentioned. Faris Khan, Sheikh, are cosmetic surgeries making the lips dense and bigger for no medical purpose whatsoever permissible? I mean, I don't really know exactly all the different types of procedures for, lip enlargement, or whatever they call it, or Botox injections. And so the general rule for changing the features of the body is, if it's done for medical purposes, or if it's done because of a clear defect in someone has in their body, then it's permissible. Yeah, that's the general rule. Otherwise, for women to beautify themselves is considered to be a very recommended thing, a very good thing. But if it's something which is permanent change to the body, which is going to be irreversible, then it's not allowed. And if it's temporary, then there's permission for it, the scope. But like I said, there's scope, because we'd have to look case by case exactly, because there's so many different types of procedures. You can't give a brush ruling. So that's why I use the word scope before someone, throws the scope at me, right? So I use the word scope because we have to look at this case by case, because now there are just so many, after every few months, a new cosmetic procedures coming out. Even I can't keep up with them. Yeah, so people ask me these questions. I Google all the time. New procedures come out to kind of make the eyes look bigger, or make the eyelashes look longer, or this or that. Okay, next, Cyrus. Afghanistan and Pakistan is a disaster situation with all these suicide bombings going on in Masjid. Muslims in dire situation. We badly need Imam Mahdi to come for Muslims. Others is laughing at us Muslims. Yeah, I mean, I think before Imam Mahdi comes, Muslims need to sort themselves out. What we don't want is Imam Mahdi to come and then we're still arguing. Then what's going to happen? Yeah, that could happen. Imam Mahdi might come and some Muslims say, "Oh, we don't believe him." That actually might happen. Yeah, so I think a lot of us, when we pin all of our hopes onto the arrival of Imam Mahdi, we think the whole of the ummah is gonna unite. That's not necessarily what's gonna happen. There could be a chunk of the ummah who decides to disagree with them. Yeah, so this is why we've got to be very careful. May Allah give us unity. We should always ask Allah this dua. May Allah give us unity. And unity is something which is, even from the time of after the Sahaba, the ummah didn't have. Yeah, unfortunately. Okay. Muhammad Sheikh, Salamu alaikum Ustad, Ahlan wa Sahlan. Regarding halal food, is it recommended to eat and buy products which are HMC approved, or can we buy products which say halal, like many restaurants nowadays? I mean, if you ask me, I go to anywhere which says halal, and I don't see anything that contradicts. Like if I see a shop that sells pork and it says halal, I'm not going to eat there, because that contradicts the whole concept of halal. Or if they sell haram meat with halal meat, I'm not going to go there, right? Or if they maybe, anything like that. Or maybe if they sell alcohol there as well, right? If they got alcohol, maybe I won't eat there as well, the meat. So maybe some people would say, that, oh, mashallah, jazakallah khair, Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, may Allah reward you, may Allah bless you, jazakumullah khair, ahlan wa sahlan. May Allah reward you and bless you and give you immense barakah. Jazakallah khair for your donation, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so that's basically the thing with the halal issue. Mufti Sahib, you said you did reply in CC, but you didn't explain in detail. Mufti Sahib, you did reply in CC, but you didn't explain in detail. Reply to what? Okay, Cyrus, Ustad, I used to tell a non-Muslim about riba being haram, and I was laughed at because they think without riba there will be no economy, no money generation. What is Islam's way of giving loan without riba? So basically, Islam has instead of riba, Islam has like these products. Yeah. So what I would suggest is, if you read, for example, like Mufti Taqi Usmani. If you Google Mufti Taqi Usmani, and he's got a book called Introduction to Islamic Finance, and that is basically the replacement of riba. What he writes in that book is a substitute of riba. The riba system is the most flawed system. Even economists say it is the most fragile system in the entire world, and this is a system which is designed to make a few people extremely rich, and it's designed to cause havoc, around the world. This is how it's designed, and it's always going to crash. Yeah, because its design is based upon this idea of usury, of feeding off the vulnerable victims. Yeah, so loans are never supposed to be designed. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited anyone benefiting from any loan at all. Okay, next, can you explain the concept of predestination and free will? I think I've mentioned this many times. Okay, if I get time, maybe in the end I'll try to mention it, because this is a topic which I've mentioned hundreds of times. Okay, after the ascent of Isa alayhi salam to the heavens, but before the era of the Prophet ﷺ, there were many people living in the Arabian Peninsula. From this group of the people, those who died before the Prophet ﷺ prophethood was announced did not have a messenger who was sent to them. How can this situation be reconciled with the ayah of the Quran? وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا. Okay, so good question. The Quran says we've sent to every ummah, that's the key word here, to every ummah a messenger. Now, what does every ummah mean? Does every ummah mean like every city? Does it mean every town? Does it mean every nation? Does it mean every community? Does it mean every race? Like, what does that exactly mean? Yeah, so clearly it doesn't mean that a messenger was sent to every street. Yeah, so the sending to every ummah, right, means that it was sent to, like, the main, historically, if you had a timeline and you looked at the timeline, the main sort of nations a messenger was sent there. Now, once a messenger is sent to a main nation and he passes away, his teachings spread and then they die out. And then another one is sent, his teachings spread, die out. So whoever gets caught between two prophets and doesn't get the full message reached to him, that person will not be held responsible on the Day of Judgment like any other person. Yeah, so keep that in mind. So yeah, so a simple answer to that is that these people are known as the Ahl al-Fatra. Yeah, and Ahl al-Fatra, they will be treated differently on the Day of Judgment. Shaykh, is there any book in Arabic that tells you stories of the prophets and extracts of wisdoms and lessons from them? Not just bare telling of the story, but wisdoms and lessons. Yeah, there's many books. For example, like what I would do is Google, the Qasasul Anbiya by Sha'rawi. Sha'rawi, he's from Egypt. He has a book on Qasasul Anbiya. Also, Dr. Umar al-Ashqar, he also has a book on the Anbiya, prophets, messengers. Check that up. And in Urdu, and it's been translated to English by Hifzur Rahman, by Maulana Hifzur Rahman. He has a book called Qasas, Stories of the Prophets. Yeah, Qasas al-Anbiya. It's in Urdu. And that's a very good one. That's got lots of benefits. Not in Arabic. Unfortunately, someone should translate it into Arabic. Those are three very good ones. Okay, what's the balance between not traveling due to coronavirus and tawakkul on Allah? So this is something actually I recently put up. Something which was on that on my Facebook, and some people got a bit confused, because what does the hadith mean when the Prophet ﷺ said, if you're in a city and a plague hits it, don't run away, and if you're not in that city, don't enter it? Like, what does this mean? So again, this hadith requires fiqh. It requires like understanding. It requires holistic understanding of all the narrations and how the Sahaba understood it. So the fuqaha, I'll just give you the summary of it. The fuqaha have mentioned that this statement itself, this is something which is it talking about all plagues, or was it talking about certain types of plagues that exist in the time of the Prophet ﷺ? That's one thing you have to understand, right? Second thing we have to understand is that is the Prophet ﷺ saying this because this is something that will literally cause an outbreak of that illness, disease. It causes an outbreak of that illness, right? So it needs to be quarantined. Or is he saying this because people will start panicking, so their belief will get messed up? Meaning they'll start panicking, they'll start thinking that they're going to die, and they're going to start, like what's happening now basically, people are just stocking up on tissue paper and stocking up on food and going crazy and cancelling all their trips and everything. So this is why the Hanafis have said, based on Umar radiallahu anhu's report, where Umar radiallahu anhu is about to enter Sargh, and some Sahaba said, no, you can't enter because it's a place that's been struck by illness, and other Sahaba said, no, you can't leave because you're in that place now. And Abdurrahman ibn Auf said to him, no, the Prophet ﷺ said, if you're not in that place, don't enter, and if you are in that place, don't leave. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're not in that place, so you go home. Anyway, Umar radiallahu anhu, he decided to go anyway. But some of the companions said, aren't you running away from fate? Like, you're running away from it. So Umar radiallahu anhu, no, he said, I am using the qadr of Allah, the kind of scope that Allah has given us to be able to live on the earth. I am using that, the means, and I am fighting that with other means that Allah has given us. So for example, one is whatever sustenance Allah has given you, you're going to get that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you're not going to work, because working is a means of getting that sustenance from Allah. It's like a kind of circle. Yeah, it's this kind of circle. So likewise, you getting ill, right? You getting ill is obviously something which you can't help. If you're going to get ill, you're going to get ill. But it doesn't mean that you don't take the means to escape, right? So in other words, if you get ill, it doesn't mean you don't go to the doctor to get yourself a cure, because that's also something which is part of the divine qadr of Allah. So I would say nowadays, I don't exactly know, I'm not an expert in these illnesses, but I would say, look, if it's a journey that you have, coronavirus, according to what I've read, is going to affect everyone on earth in a few years. Matter of few years, everyone's going to be affected. There is going to be mass deaths because of this, unfortunately, right? It's just something that's going to happen. That's historically, we're kind of like blind to what happened in history with illnesses, but that's basically something that's going to happen. I would say, look, just live your life, do what you have to do. Don't go out too much. If you're going to go on holidays that are not necessary, don't go out on those holidays, right? I would say, but don't make a big fuss about it as well at the same time. Use common sense. Okay. Okay, I think all the questions are done now. They're all done. Okay, so someone asked the same questions about 3-4 times. So we've answered those. What are your thoughts about the book Fazail A'mal? Is there too much admonition within there? No, I mean, it's a good book. Fazail A'mal is not a book. It's not the Quran, basically. What we fail to understand is we take any famous scholar in the past who wrote a book and we think this is the book we have to live our life by. That's wrong. The only one book we have to live our life by is the Quran. This is the only one book we have to live our life by. Every other book is something which requires investigation. The only one book we don't need to investigate is the Quran. Every other book requires investigation. The Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the words of the Prophet ﷺ do not require investigation, but the way they've been transmitted to us and they've been collected by authors, that still requires investigation. Yeah, so that's the difference. So this is why I don't see why people have to follow Fazail A'mal. Yeah, Fazail A'mal is a good book. There's other books out there that are stricter than Fazail A'mal that scholars have written. But it doesn't mean that Riyadh al-Salihin is not a book you live your life by. Quran is you live your life by Quran. And the fiqh, it gives you an explanation of the Quran in the light of the Hadith. Alhamdulillah, all the questions and curious cat have been answered. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, first time, look how quick. Actually, one question. Can non-married women wear menstrual cups? Basically, it's a cup that is inserted and it collects the blood. Yes, they can. Yeah, they're allowed to wear it. Okay, all those questions are done now. Alhamdulillah, feels so good. Feel free, guys. Feel like a bird. Okay, let's just check out your questions. CSDF, Islamic banking use term profit instead of interest. Does that change the prohibition of interest? It depends exactly what model they use. Yeah, what model they use. So when we say riba, the reason why riba is haram in Islam is because you are profiting from a loan, right? A loan. So for example, let's say for instance, I want to borrow £100 from you. So I say to you, give me £100, and you say to me, I'll give you £100 as long as you give me £120 back. That's haram, that is, because you are simply benefiting from a loan. But if I say to you, I want £100, and you say to me, that's fine, I'll give you £100, work for me, do something for me. Yeah, I'll give you £100, and that is allowed. Or for example, if you say to me, here's a gift of £100, that's allowed. Or number 3 is if you loan it out to me, borrow it to me, that's allowed. Right, so in other words, these are still, you're still giving me in riba, you're giving me £100, and in all of these cases you're giving me £100. These are allowed, riba is not allowed. Yeah, so one of the ways that the Islamic banks overcome riba is basically what they do is, Islamically, as long as the item which is exchanged between the two people is something which is based upon an asset, physical asset, you can make as much money as you want. So let's say I want to buy a house, and I go to you, you're the bank, you're the conventional interest-based bank, and you say to me, okay, we'll borrow you £150,000 on the condition that you give us back £50,000 extra. So we're going to borrow you £150,000, and at the end of it, we want £200,000 back. That's a riba, not allowed, because they are making profit from cash. But if you want an Islamic alternative, what you do is, you would say to me, what do you want? And I say £150,000. Why? Because I want to buy a house. So you say to me, we'll buy the house, you buy it off us. So you buy the house for £150,000, you become the owner, and then you sell it to me for £200,000. That's allowed, that is, because the whole transaction is based upon a physical asset, tangible physical asset, non-cash, not liquid. So that's why it would be allowed. So you just look at the different types of dealings. Okay, Zara, well, thank you very much. Sheikh Ali, Sheikh, I see a lot of mosques take donations which has been used for construction of masjid space. What if a person who sells alcohol or gambling donates that money? Can you explain in detail on this? Yeah, it's permissible for them to take it, but it wouldn't be ideal. If the money is purely from that source, the masjid shouldn't take it. They're not allowed to build, the prayer area, anything in the prayer area, they can't build anything there. But they can use it for other parts of the building. For example, staircase or main doors or lighting, in the building. Because remember, in the UK, when we have a masjid, it's not all masjid. Although they call it masjid, technically the masjid is only that hall in which salat is prayed. So all other parts, the car park, the toilets, the classrooms on the side, maybe some other things, some other exterior work, those are technically you're allowed to give it. Yeah. Okay, I'm buying some deer meat now. Go for it. I think there's a website you can actually get some. It's called Exotic Halal Meats. I think they're based in Dewsbury. I'm gonna order some from there, inshallah. I thought you were going to say the day you try it, deer meat, you will invite us all. Does it look like I'm joking? No, inshallah. Maybe some of you I'll invite. Yeah. Okay, where's beats and about reindeers can sacrifice on Eid al-Adha? Can you answer that one? Hansel and Gretel, Jazakallah khair. Crypto, how come there are many signs of the end of times which mention places in the east such as Sham, Yemen, but no mention of countries in the west? I don't know. Maybe it's because the world events are around. We don't really know, like 100%. We don't know, like the actual 100% reason for why these particular things are mentioned. Definitely, maybe lots of the signs of the Day of Judgment haven't reached us. Could be. Maybe the Prophet ﷺ in his life said so many different signs of Day of Judgment are going to come, but they just didn't reach us. That could happen. So a lot of times what happens is we think all of the hadith have Allahu Akbar, MashaAllah, why now? £10, Jazakumullah khair, Jazakumullah khair. Allah subhanallah, Abu Bakr, and why now? MashaAllah. You guys can ask anything you want now, yeah? Abu Bakr and why now? You guys are controlling the show now. You are the controlling the show. Okay. Does this mean that majority of events in the end of times occur in the West? So I'll answer that one. Muhammad Sheikh Ustaz. Sheikh Imran Hussain often visits UK and is known for his lectures on Islamic eschatology. He often classifies Islamic mortgage in the UK as backdoor riba. Your opinion on this? I personally think don't listen to him. Yeah, he's very, very strange beliefs he's got, and I've listened to a few of his things, and it goes against a lot of what the scholars say. So I personally would say don't listen to him. He is famous because a lot of the stuff he says is controversial, and people like controversy. If I was to start talking about controversy, and if I did a whole series on the reality of coronavirus and how the coronavirus is something which is from the devil, and the 10 proofs that coronavirus is from the devil, I guarantee you I'm going to get thousands of hits. Yeah. And if I just keep talking about Ya'juj and Ma'juj and just like put some dots together and create this kind of image of, Ya'juj and Ma'juj is located in this location, and show you Google Maps of it and tell you about how scholars won't tell you this, and I'm on the right and the haqq, and so I mean these are kind of, unfortunately, I would say this is one of the guys I would personally say stay away from. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam, mashallah MP. Very good. Okay, you've come and we finished all Curious Cat questions. Can you imagine that? Can you believe that? If a person comes to Jum'ah Salat late and joins the Imam in the Tashahhud sitting position, should he continue to finish the 2 rakats, or does he have to pray 4 rakats? According to Imam Abu Hanifa and according to Imam Abu Yusuf, he only prays the Jum'ah 2 rakats. And according to Imam Muhammad, he prays the 4. We follow, majority of the Hanafis later on, they follow the Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf position. So you only pray 2. Sharif Will, wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan, ahl America. Kaif? You used to term Hatib al-Layl or Hatim al-Layl recently. Can you explain the Arabic? Yes. So Hatib al-Layl, Hatib means someone who collects wood. Hatab. And Layl means night. So this is like an Arabic proverb. There was a man one day and he went to collect some wood. So when he went to collect wood, what happened was he picked up a big bunch of wood, right? And he came back home, and in that wood was snakes and all these other things, and it killed him. So Arabs use this as a proverb, and they say someone who collects all sorts of information without refining it and without researching it thoroughly is called a hatibul layl. Yeah, he gets all sorts of things. So that's why I put it up on my YouTube, my Facebook. Yeah, like I said, social media is hatibul layl on steroids. Thanks for your answer. You're welcome, Waza. Lip filters, the Kylie Jenner trend. Allahu Akbar. Whatever that means, I mean to that. H. Hussein, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Why now? Sorry, I meant the question why wives are supposed to walk behind their husbands. I'd please understand, because I don't understand. Please tell me. I don't know. There's no Quran evidence in the Quran. There's no hadith I've come across that wife has to walk behind the husband. I don't know. If you can tell me, maybe like there's a hadith, I can look it up. But I don't know, like, is there an ayah of the Quran? There's no ayah of the Quran that says the wife has to walk behind the husband. Yeah, if someone gets it from, like, for example, I don't know where. I have no idea. Allah knows best. I know there are some. See, the thing is, there are some communities they kind of like preserve their women so much that they kind of put their women like very far away, basement kind of thingy. So when you see them drive the car, their wife is in the back, not in the boot, unless he's killed her or something, kidnapping her. Their wife is in the back seat, and they don't let their wife sit next to them in the passenger seat. I think that's more something which is a cultural thing, extreme sort of like ghairat they have apparently. That how dare my wife sit next to me? Wife should be at the back of behind the husband. And I've even seen this one. I went to this one guy's house and he said his sister's teacher told him that she's not allowed to put her coat on top of the husband's coat. She can't put her coat on top of the husband's coat. Yeah, and the husband has to put his coat on top of the wife's. And that's like, I don't know where they get this from. Yeah, I don't know. Allah knows best. Are lavish weddings un-Islamic and against Sunnah? What if I'm very rich and he's... Yeah, so lavish weddings, are they against Islam? No, they're not against Islam. As in, having a lavish lifestyle, as long as it doesn't fall under, extravagance. And extravagance, like I always mentioned, is always something subjective, and it's based upon how rich you are. So if someone is very poor, yeah, let's say there's 10 steps of richness. Someone's on step number 1. And if they were to do a wedding like someone on step number 5, for them, that would be extravagance. And if someone's on step number 5 of richness, and they were to try and do a wedding like someone on step number 10 of richness, that would be extravagance for them. Yeah. So in our societies, I mean, I would personally say, look, spending £100,000 on your wedding, and if you're living in a place like Aston or Alum Rock or most of the places in Birmingham, I would say that's extravagant stays. That's over the top. That's more than you can. And I remember one guy said a good thing. He said, if you want to know spending too much is not good, can you afford that thing? Can you afford that thing 3 times? If you can afford that thing 3 times, then it's considered to be okay. And if you can't, then it would be extravagance. That's like a nice kind of like rule of the thumb, I think. I like that one. Okay. Pasta is out of stock in supermarkets now. Allahu Akbar. Cyrus, where are you at? Okay, what is the best way to give da'wah to non-Muslims? How do we start off to be taken seriously? Could you please advise? I would say, first of all, start studying. Learn the Quran, understand the Quran, study the Quran from a teacher. That's the first and most important thing. Then give da'wah. Do not give da'wah before you've learned about Islam. And we are not obliged to give da'wah to people if we don't know. If the nutters used water for istinja, they wouldn't need to hoard lulu. Excellent, brilliant that is. See that? Subhanallah, look at this. Coronavirus has shown the non-Muslims in the West of how practical Islam is now. Yeah? Think about it. They were banning the niqab, for example. And now all of a sudden they're all covering their faces. They were talking about how, Muslims wash their feet and they do all these kind of things. Now they're realizing and they're washing everything now. They were talking about how Muslims have segregation. Now they're realizing how important segregation is. Yeah, I mean, not in the coronavirus thing, but when it came to that, that Weinstein issue, that, big companies now are avoiding shaking women's hands and staying alone in a room with them. Allah just shows them of how they are, their own sort of criticisms against Islam are backfiring on them. Yeah, and Allah says in the Quran, Allah says that, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ, that they want to turn off the light of Islam with their tongues. وَاللَّهُ مُتِمٌ, and Allah will make the light shine everywhere. Does that happen? Alhamdulillah. Okay, CSDF. Salam, will your evolution of fiqh course be available for purchasing? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it free of charge, inshallah, on my YouTube channel. Yeah, so inshallah, I'll be doing it free. So inshallah, it's going to be on my YouTube channel, but it's just something in a long-term thing that inshallah I've planned. Haven't really kind of decided to do at the moment, but inshallah I am slowly just kind of thinking about getting time, basically, because I don't get in time. I know some of you guys have been saying to me, please don't do the Seerah series, you're going to take up your time in doing other things. And I totally understand that. But the thing you have to remember is look, I look at it this way. I'm not going to live forever. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to live for. I might pass away in a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, 20 years, right? I'm going to leave this world. But I need to be able to have something which at least I want for the channel. So if I can't continue it, I want someone else to continue it. Now, there are other people who do these kind of things, but the thing is that I'm a very picky person. I want someone to make videos like the vision that I've got. And I know that people who are going to make videos on Seerah, because the way I want to do the Seerah course is going to be basically with full maps of today's times, using Google Maps, understanding the different aspects of, for example, like Jahiliyyah, bringing Jahiliyyah into it, how things were done in Jahiliyyah, and then how the Seerah came, and what kind of things in the Seerah were influenced by the times of Jahiliyyah, the clothing, the food, etc. And then how that applies to Quran as well. So in other words, the injunctions and the rulings and the way the Quran explains things in the Seerah in light of the Quran, and also the sort of fawaid benefits that we learn from this. And so it's a very sort of holistic approach to Seerah. It's very different from how normally Seerah is taught, where you just simply it's like a timeline. You just go through the timeline and you cover it like that. Allah knows best. Okay, Cyrus von Leifi, I'm here now. Assalamu alaikum, Tony Ainil. MashaAllah, ahlan wa sahlan, Tony. Cyrus, fine. Okay, Dr. Maulana, MashaAllah, Dr. Maulana Harun Sidat is here. Allahu Akbar. Sheikh, I feel honored, MashaAllah, you are in this group. And guys, check out Dr. Maulana Harun Sidat. Oh, by the way, guys, listen, Maulana Harun Sidat, this guy is a gem, in Blackburn. And Blackburnians, you guys should have sharam if you don't know about Maulana Harun Sidat. Yeah. And Maulana, I forgot the name of your musalla that you have. Right. Find him on social media. At the moment, he's doing this survey across the UK. Right. It's a survey to find out about masjids and imams. Yeah. So, just do that survey. So Maulana, if you have the link to your survey, please put it on the Roots of Knowledge here, or if anyone else knows where that link is, put it on the Roots of Knowledge in the chat box below. And guys, spread it around everywhere. Yeah, because this is going to be an asset for us in the Muslim. At the moment, the only people doing surveys are either non-Muslims or it's Majid Nawaz and crew, right? And we don't want to listen to these guys. Yeah, we don't want to trust their apparent findings. We want it from our own neutral sources amongst the Muslim ummah. So alhamdulillah, mashallah, Maulana Harun Sidat is like we said, a very big asset, inshallah. May Allah put barakah in his time. So guys, benefit from him. Yeah, Blackburn, people of Blackburn, yeah, go to his darses, inshallah. Okay, take benefit. Jazakallah khair, Maulana. You're making me feel humble now. Okay. Alright, so mashallah, you guys have blocked out chasing supercars. Excellent. I don't know what he said, but if you blocked him, I trust you. Okay, so he said, Assalamu alaikum. Can mortgage become permissible out of necessity? Yes. Out of necessity, taking a mortgage can become permissible. Yeah. Ammar Saeed, mashallah, Ammar, ahlan wa sahlan. Who are my favorite Quran reciters? At the moment, let me tell you who at the moment is my favorite Quran reciter. That Mansoor Salimi. Have you heard of Mansoor Salimi? Type him in, Mansoor Salimi. That's one. Number two, there's this guy from Sudan. I think his name is Noor something. Can't remember his full name. And he's got a very unique way of reading Quran. A unique kind of sound, a tune he has. Have you heard of him? So he's another one. And the third one is there's this guy, man. I can't remember. I just play it on. But the best is Husari. Yeah, Husari. I've got him on my phone, the whole Quran. And I just put my earphones in and I listen to him. And alhamdulillah, I'm almost going to finish another khatam now. Yeah, so I listen to the entire Quran. And I probably finish a khatam maybe in 2 months, every 2 months or so. A whole audio listening of the Quran. So alhamdulillah, because I understand Arabic, I can benefit a lot by going through the Quran time and time again. So Husari, top. Okay, Sharif Will, Assalamu alaikum. Once a property is dedicated as a masjid, is that forever or can it be sold? Yeah, according to majority of scholars, it's dedicated 100% forever. Can't be sold. In Imam Tahawi's book mentioned belief in arrival of Isa return is part of Aqidah. Does belief in Isa alayhi salam return take someone out of the fold and based on their own modernist interpretation? Not necessarily. No. So this idea of again, this is another course I really want to do on my YouTube channel, which is this, because Aqidah and Ilm al-Kalam. It's going to be a very long thing, right? Which is going to take a long time, but hopefully that's one of the long-term aims. So Aqidah, what will take you out of Islam is something which is categorical part of Islam, which everyone knows. So scholars say that the belief in Isa alayhi salam will not take you out of the fold of Islam if you don't believe that he's going to return, but it will be counted as a person being a deviant from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Deviated extremely from the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What do you think about Meri Jism, Meri Marzi? What do you think about Meri Jism, Meri Marzi? Hey, Meri Jism, Meri Marzi, bhai. I don't know. Let Pakistan people deal with their own things. They've got enough. I think they've got enough of their own problems that they need to sort out. Okay, Sufyan Salam. I asked a question about student loan via Messenger. Should I ask here or wait for response? So was it on Facebook? So the problem is I don't have Facebook Messenger. I have it when I access it through the computer, and therefore sometimes I have loads of questions just piled up. So I think the best thing would email it to me. Email it to me, inshallah, regarding your question. So the email's at the bottom of the screen. Just send it to that email. Okay, do you have course available for non-English speakers? Non-English, like what language? Most of my courses are in English and some in Arabic. Okay, Mera Jism, Meri Marzi. The wording is problematic, but a lot of what they're saying makes sense. Okay, can't believe you finished CC quick. Did you just answer new questions? So what I done basically was I answered a lot of them on the Curious Cat, just a quick answer. And then that's why I got a lot of them through. Everyone have their own opinion. Sometimes their opinion isn't correct. Some more of its take talking about what's happening in the future, since Allah knows. About Sheikh Imran Hussein, sometimes he is not 100% correct. He says himself what he says is his own opinion. He has a lot of enemies though. I mean, everyone does. Everyone has enemies. Personally, I don't like how he goes about things. I mean, that's my opinion. Yeah, mera marzi or meri marzi, whatever. Mera jism. Okay, freebies. Have you actually read the manifesto? Listened to any of the ladies behind it? Okay, Sheikh, Jazakallah khair. Ustad wants last question for tonight. What if he makes a vow to do Umrah this year but couldn't go because of global epidemic? Will expiation be necessary in this situation? Yes, it will be. They're just trying to promote behavior in Pakistan society, feminism. Okay, Khabib versus Ferguson coming up soon. Khabib to win. Yeah, unless what's it? Coronavirus gets him. Sheikh Juhaini has amazing tajweed. Yeah, Sheikh Juhaini is good. I mean, I don't listen to it for tajweed. That's to be honest. I just listen to it for meaning. That's all. CSDF, may Allah put barakah in your time, achieve high ambitions. Ameen, ameen, jazakallah khair. Unknown era, there is a playlist of the whole Quran for Sheikh Juhaini. Haris R. Salam from Germany. Ahlan wa sahlan, Ahl Germany. The only word I know in Germany is Guten, is it Guten Tag? Guten Tag. Mary opinion, what is he? Okay, I think there's a few questions of Come on Curious Cat. So we finished, by the way, guys, yeah? Yeah, alhamdulillah, we finished. Check this out, guys. Look at that. Your guys' du'as. I did a poll, didn't I? Yeah. What did you guys vote for? What was your votes? Okay. You said ask anything. Okay, I think that's it. Done that one. Okay, so our du'as, of course, have 1 out of 3 outcomes. My question is, how does one gauge when to stop repeating the same du'a when it has not been immediately answered? Okay, so good question. This is Annotator Photography. Excellent name that is. So, Annotator. So when it comes to du'a, look, what is du'a? Allah is our creator, isn't he? Allah has the power to give us anything he wants. Right? He has full reigns, control, everything. We are limited. So when we're limited and we need to get something done that's outside of our limit, right? As long as we're within our limit, we do it ourselves. Once we get to a point where it's beyond our limit, then we ask for help for someone who has the power, right? So for example, let's say for example, I have a car and I'm driving my car. So I have the power to drive my car to work. Let's say for example, I drive my car in the morning, doesn't work. What do? Do I make dua to Allah to give me a car? No. What I do is I book a taxi or an Uber. So I get the help of someone else. So if I get a taxi and then I get to work, alhamdulillah. Now what if, for example, like I am unable to get a car, then what? Then I walk it. What if I'm unable to walk it? So once you reach the limits of human capacity, then that's when dua is asked. Yes, we can ask dua for anything which is within our own capacity, but that's only for like making things easy for ourselves. Real dua is when, like for example, asking for hidayah is outside of our capacity. All our money, all of our power and strength and everything put together cannot give anyone hidayah. It comes from Allah. So technically dua, the concept of dua is really about when you reach your limits of what you can do, of human limits, you ask Allah and Allah takes you further. Yeah, Allah like builds the rest of the road for you, gets you there. So this is why we carry on making du'as until we die. And those 3 things that you mentioned, those are like just byproducts, right? So we just carry on begging Allah. Just like, for example, sometimes you stop your car and some beggars will come to you and they'll keep on begging and begging and begging until you go away. They just carry on begging. You have to beg Allah. Always carry on. Even if you don't get what you're asking for, that dua itself is an ibadah and you get reward for it. Okay, Salam Mufti. How do we understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking to Musa alayhi salam? We know from Hadith how Allah sent Quran from Sahaba. Is there anything to explain the way how the direct communication? So we don't have anything authentic of how communication took place between Allah and the Prophet and Musa alayhi salam, except it was a very, very, very unique way of communication. Because Allah says, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. So when كَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا is mentioned, Allah spoke to Musa alayhi salam in a way that was something like it was out of this world. Takliman. So this word maf'ul mutlaq is used. So that's basically what the maf'ul mutlaq achieves. It gives us this meaning of this like indescribable kind of way of, or undescribable way of. Yeah. So we don't exactly know. Okay. CSDF, one question answered in depth. Okay. Dragon Master 92. Salams Mufti. What's your beard regime? So did you guys see that video I made today? Well, I didn't make it today. What's happening was yesterday when I made the Kanz al-Daqaq video and I was editing it and I had this part at the beginning and I thought it just looked so funny, and that sounds so good. I don't know why, I just liked the sound that it was making when I was like doing this with my beard. So you can't hear it now. I don't think you can hear it because this mic is not designed for this, the one I'm using. So currently for the live stream I use this mic, right? And this is called a dynamic mic. And there's the other mic I was using was a shotgun mic, and it's like it aims the sound at a specific location. It's very, very sensitive, extremely sensitive, right? So the sounds that it was making, I just thought, oh, that sounds excellent. So I was thinking, shall I make an entire like a video of just my fingers going through my beard, and my hair and the sound that it makes, and I could listen to that for ages. It sounds so relaxing and chilling, calm, ASMR, one of those ASMR videos. So no, it wasn't breathing. The sound was basically the sound of, at the beginning maybe for a few seconds it was some breathing there, but it was just the sound of like it just sounded, I don't know. I like that sound. I don't know if you guys like it. So my beard regime isn't really anything special. I just wash my beard after every few days, and then maybe just put some beard oils in there regularly, comb it, and that's it really. Cut it, trim it. Maybe I'll do one video on how I trim my beard. I think that might be something a lot of people are interested in. Sheikh, will all the coronavirus talk about, can we pray with those masks like the mouth and nose? Yes, according to Hanafis it's fine. You can do that. I got backlog of so many of your videos to catch up on. Yeah, alhamdulillah. I voted for all questions answered because that was second highest after 1 hour, and I wanted it longer than 1 hour. Allahu Akbar. So you were like the long houred ones. Muhammad Sheikh, Jazakallah khair for all your answer question provided. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family. Please remember in du'as. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Muhammad Sheikh is one of my students in the second year. Alhamdulillah. May Allah put barakah in his time, guys. I want onion rings or a cheese and tomato toasty. Okay. I'm not a chip shop or anything. Dragon Master, also, do you have any advice on how to find a wife in terms of it being halal and meeting the other person to get to know them, speaking to them? So basically, look, I would say if you're looking for a wife, whatever your normal customs kind of use for looking for a wife, you look for a wife, right? So you ask around if there's any women who are interested in getting married. You ask your parents if you got parents alive, or sisters or aunties. Check out people, ask around. You can meet them. Ideally, you meet them with like a chaperone. You ask them questions that you need to know about, and then if you think they're the right person, then you just go ahead with it. Do istikhara and just say yes. Okay, I thought sounds was someone. Great explanation. Thank you. You're welcome. Beard video was funny. Yeah. I mean, actually, you're right. I was thinking right now. It's a bit funny, isn't it? The Quiet Last Lovely. The Quiet Last Lovely. What a name. The Quiet Last Lovely. That's even hard to say. SKS. Okay, Faris Khan, Mufti Saab, Jazakumullah Khair. For your time, a weekend. answer our questions. It is nice to see people still spreading deen in such times of fitness, almost unavoidable. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. May Allah reward you. Ameen. Jazakumullah khair, Faris. Ameen, ameen. Is it true that Ahmad bin Hanbal criticizes Abu Hanifa? I mean, it depends. I don't know. Yeah, lots of people criticize Abu Hanifa. Having criticism is not a problem. Remember that. In other words, no one in history has been left without criticism. Allah has been criticized by, mushrikeen and others. The Prophet ﷺ has been criticized by so many people. Sahaba amongst themselves, they criticize one another. Tabi'een, taba tabi'een. So criticism isn't a problem. What's problem is if that criticism holds weight in whatever area it is. Right? So if it's a criticism that holds weight, then it's a problem. Do you teach Dars Nizami? Have your own unique course for teaching Alimiya? Yeah, I teach Dars Nizami. I mean, at the moment, I don't have my own unique way, but I'm developing one way, which is basically the YouTube channel. What is it like teaching alongside Sheikh Zayd? Alhamdulillah, it's good. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Ya Allah. Okay, let's check this. Okay, so all of that is done now. Anything else, guys? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it up to 11 o'clock. That's it. So I did say 1.5 hours, but I think just do 11 o'clock and then finish khalas at 11. I'm gonna turn it off at 11. So if you have any Americans, where are you guys? You guys only have your Khalifa Sharif Will, yeah, the Khalifa of America. Sharif Will is only here, and all of you guys have abandoned him. Yeah, he's on a mission. My tea's gone cold as I'm drinking cold tea. Normally, halfway through, I've gone and made myself some more tea, but this time, alhamdulillah, feels nice. I mean, we haven't really kind of rushed the questions. Nice. Okay, let's just see what you guys are saying. Salam Ustad G AQM. After Sajfatusu, do you read At-Tahiyatu? Oh, Sajda Sahu. After Sajda Sahu, do you read At-Tahiyatu? Yes, you read that. Aqidah Salafiyya. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ustad, is it okay if my husband smokes shisha at home? I mean, the thing with shisha is, look, shisha and smoking, right? Smoking cigarettes. Smoking cigarettes, there is so much research done that it's compelling research to show that it is harmful to your health. Shisha, on the other hand, the research hasn't been done yet. So at the moment, it seems as though the research done for shisha isn't as compelling to show that shisha is harmful if it's done now and again. If it's done regularly, where you're in a shisha lounge and you're smoking and all that smoke, it keeps on going through your lungs, and depending on what you're smoking. So I can't really say exactly, about the shisha itself. But what I would say is, if it's done on and off now and again, and there's a well ventilated room, then there's scope for it. Yeah, so there's permissibility for it. My name has a meaning. Quiet is the quiet scream. Last is the last person to go, and lovely is the suffered finding love. Allah. So your name is a poem. Your name is a poem. This is a new thing. I've never come across someone whose name had a story behind it. Shariful, assalamu alaikum. Can you say this with Arabic balagha? Let our addiction for growth be stronger than our addiction for comfort. Just want to hear in Arabic. Okay, so let our addiction for growth be stronger than addiction for comfort. So I mean, if you were to translate it literally, you're going to say this: ليكون إدماننا للنمو ليكون إدماننا للنمو أقوى من إدماننا للتنعم. Okay, that's like just a rough kind of translation. But if you want to say in a more poetic kind of way, you probably would say something like this. Later, actually gotta think about that one. Yeah, it's a good kind of sentence. The Arabs don't say things like that. That's the problem. They wouldn't structure it in this way. They would say something like الحرص على الحرص على الحرص على على النمو خير من الحرص على التنعم أو التمتع. Yeah, I think they say like that. الحرص على النمو خير من الحرص على تمتع. So see, when we're learning Arabic, what you have to understand is the way things are said in English is not how Arabs would rephrase that. They would say in a very different way in most cases. Have you thought of doing question answer videos with other teachers for YouTube? One fellow scholars, students. You see, the problem is I've actually attempted it in the past, but the problem is a lot of them are not, photogenic. Yeah, so they kind of feel shy or they giggle, or it just doesn't kind of like flow. You need to have someone who kind of flows with you, who's very. I found it very difficult when I first started many years ago in front of the camera, but now slowly I'm starting to break away from that fear of speaking in front of a camera audience. That's not a problem. What's the ruling on vaping and smoking? Yeah, so I've mentioned that. Okay, Ustad, what's your opinion on series like Urtugan and Osman? I haven't watched them, so I wouldn't be able to say, but I heard it's quite good. I heard a lot of people have started practicing by watching that. But just because people start practicing because they watch something doesn't mean that it's something which is allowed. There might be someone who murders someone, and because they murdered someone, they started practicing. So it doesn't mean go around and murdering everyone because you start practicing. But I heard there's some very good benefits from it. A lot of people are interested in Islam, and they, any chance of a Sufa badminton tournament volunteers versus students? Yeah, why not? Definitely, why not, guys? Let's sort something out. Get some players together. Let's book a court somewhere, and I'm ready. I'm 24/7 ready for badminton. I will give up live stream question and answers. Astaghfirullah. No, I won't give live stream. Many ulama say it's haram and others say it's good. Yeah, so I mean the reason why the ulama have ikhtilaf is because full research hasn't been done on it. Shariful with a Zad. Okay, so why do you ask about Americans every week? Why they aren't the special? By MP. Yeah, zip. Please don't. Me and Americans don't talk about them. Don't get jealous. Basically. Okay, Sheikh, 1 hour of shisha is worth over 100 cigarettes. Yeah, so that's why I said. So this is like it's not compelling research yet, but in 20 years time, 30 years time, when the full research comes out, then we're going to find out the full details. And it's like the shisha itself, it's like, how was the research done? Was it to do with inside a restricted room? Was it where a person smokes a certain type of shisha, etc.? That sounds extremely exaggerated. I don't know what that's referring to. Okay, Sheikh, the research that has been done in shisha and vaping shows that it has a dramatic effect on heart, significantly increasing the chance of heart attack. Would that influence the ruling? Possibly, yeah, possibly. It depends. I haven't fully kind of read all the research papers on it, but if it's as the same as smoking, see, the thing is, most of us here, we don't know how research papers are written. So what happens is we're very influenced by what we read on social media. So if someone puts up a post and says like heading, shisha is 100 times worse than cigarettes, we all of a sudden think, oh my god, and we start telling all our friends and everything, do you guys know that shisha's... Bhai, calm down, put your brake on. First of all, is this paper a legitimate paper? Has it been accepted by the World Health Organization? Is it something where other scientists agree upon it? There are so many factors when a research paper is taken into consideration. So a lot of social media sort of hype is built up simply upon the names and the titles of things. And this as Muslims, we should never, and if you want to give fatwa, you should never go by that. So I know what you guys are saying. I'm sure most of you guys are not familiar with the full background of all the research. Maybe some of you guys are experts in this field. Allah knows best. I'm not an expert, so I can't speak on this. But that's what happens usually. Like you see, coronavirus will kill this much people, and everyone thinks, right, coronavirus. And that's why people get hyped up and go to the, Asda and Tesco and buy all the loo paper, or for Americans, toilet paper, or sorry, bathroom paper, whatever you guys call it. I'm a little dark, but the story is my emotions. About my alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless, put barakah in your emotions and give you a bright life. Is lottery money won with the niyyah of giving all to charity allowed? No, it's not allowed. Annotator, photography, amazing. All these videos you make, which will be an amazing sadaqah jariyah and legacy for you after death. You inspire me to seek knowledge. Ameen, ameen, inshallah. Inshallah, jazakallah khair. Sharif will. Yes, bro. Khan, wa alaikum assalam. You're a bit late, Khan. We almost finished now. I hope you bear in the best. I hope you bear in the best of health and iman. Have there been many female fuqaha in history apart from Hadrat Aisha? Yes, definitely. There have been lots of fuqaha, female fuqaha. Yeah, lots of them. The problem is that women unfortunately get tied up with becoming pregnant, having children, and bringing up children. So this is why they kind of like focus themselves on that area. But there were many fuqaha, and scholars in the past have written about them. Yeah, many fuqaha and muhaddithat as well. Many muhaddithat. No, it's not as serious. It's not. I think lots of women should go into fiqh. The only thing, let me tell you something. Women, from my own personal experience of teaching men and women, most women I teach are not interested in fiqh. After studying for a few years, they get burnt out. They like spirituality, they like Quran, they like Hadith, they like these kind of topics which are heart-softening topics. Yeah, they're more into these areas. Very few women will be into fiqh and usul fiqh. Yeah, very few I found, and I've probably found, like, I can probably maybe even just count them on my fingers of one hand, the number of students I've taught, and they have shown interest in fiqh, like at a very advanced level. They usually get burnt out. They're not really interested in fiqh topics. They're more interested in like tafsir, and it's just a natural thing. Women are just maybe more inclined towards that, whereas men seem to, because fiqh is all to do with like thinking in certain patterns, whereas women, they like emotional topics. British Heart Foundation says it. Okay. About the 100 cigarettes. So are they saying it, like what's the exact circumstance? Are they saying that if a person was to smoke it once, or does it have to be in a shisha lounge, or does it have to be in a confined room where there's no ventilation? That's what my question is. Okay, so question: is it halal to speak ill of oppressive Muslim rulers? I mean, see, the problem is when we see someone being oppressive, how do we see them as oppressive? Just because someone, for example, like has locked up a scholar in prison, does that mean he's oppressive? Just because someone has said that he doesn't want niqab in the country, is that oppressive? So this is why it's a very tricky topic. Personally, I wouldn't go into that area because it's not really to do with fiqh per se. It's more to do with political issues. But you don't want to go into ghiba. That's the problem. Okay, you should compete in national badminton tournaments. I'd love to, There's a Sufa offer online Alimiya. Not yet, but we're hoping to start hopefully soon. We're trying to pilot it at the moment, and we're going to see if we can start it in this September. Cyrus, heard vape is worse than normal cigarettes and shisha. Allah knows best. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Okay, full of harmful chemicals. Your view on some people saying Adam alayhi salam evolved from another human species. I mean, I see, to answer this question properly, you'd have to basically have a full research in the topic of Adam alayhi salam, understand how evolution works. I do not know how evolution works properly. I'm like most of you guys, right? I've done biology A levels at that level, right? And we didn't really go too much into evolution and all that kind of stuff. But what I can tell you is, if you go on to Fatima Elizabeth Kate's YouTube channel, there's actually recently been put up a whole 5-hour discussion about this Adam alayhi salam issue, and very well-known scholars around the world have given presentations on it. So check it out. Yeah, I think it's called Evolution, Adam alayhi salam, something like that. So all 5 hour thing. I haven't listened to it. I just saw it today, and some guys I know they delivered presentations on there. So check it out. They're more knowledgeable than me on this topic. Yeah, they're using major scammer headlines and reporting coronavirus. We'll sort out a game soon, inshallah. Would you ever do a video regarding Islam and mental health, or having someone who is qualified on a video with you? Maybe. I mean, if I mean, I'm not an expert in mental health, so might be a good idea to bring someone. No way, fiqh is one of my favorite subjects. Alhamdulillah. Unknown error. Nicotine is haram. Nicotine is not, to my knowledge. Yeah, like something being addictive is not necessarily haram. Yeah, Islamically, something being addictive is not necessarily haram. Might be a stupid question. Is there a female version of a mufti? Yes, a muftiya. Yeah, there's female judges in the past. There were female judges. There were female muftis. There were female muhaddiths. There were female teachers. There were, in the past there were. Anyway, guys, jazakumullah khair, guys. Thank you very much for this wonderful session that we've had. May Allah bless all of you guys. May Allah put barakah. Abu Bakr, mashallah, if you're still watching, jazakallah khair for your donation. And why now, jazakumullah khair for your donation as well. May Allah bless all of you guys. Alhamdulillah. See, it feels nice. We just did it in 2 hours, covered everything nicely, had some discussions as well. And you guys have not asked the famous question. You haven't asked the famous question. So I shouldn't feel bad about finding fiqh a bit boring. It's just so vast and there's no way of getting a grasp of every area. Most feels irrelevant. Yeah, you see, that's exactly what most of my students, they find as well. Yeah, so it's fine. If you find fiqh boring, you find fiqh boring. You can't help that. Yeah, some people find nahu boring. Some people find, I don't know, other usul boring, right? It's just your nature. Yeah, so it's just up to you. I would say whatever you're inclined towards, give it all you got. Don't force yourself into liking something. Yeah, so it's like Marmite basically. You either like Marmite. Americans, if you guys don't know what Marmite is, it's this disgusting thing that you put on toast, and some people will tell you it's the most nicest thing that you put on toast. Okay, poem, mashallah. Okay, poem. Okay, let me check. So, Maqamat al-Hariri I've got here. Let me check. Is there any other book I can read a poem from for you guys? Let's read from here, man. Okay, let's check this out. I'm trying to find. I don't know where my Shafi is. I can't seem to find an appropriate one for you guys. Okay, I'll just read one of Imam Shafi's ones. I don't know where to put my iPad. Can't seem to find what I've done with it. Okay, I'll have to read it on my phone. Okay, sure. Shafi'i. Okay, so whilst I'm waiting for this to upload. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much, guys. Do you have Ta'wilat Ahl Sunnah? Yeah, I've got PDF of it. Aqidah Salafiyya, can women recite Quran from memory when not praying, e.g. 3 quls protection? Yes, for protection, yes. If it's for ayats of protection, they can read them. Iyakum, Jazakumullah khair for Dragon Master and Annotator. Alright, so here's an Imam Shafi poem. So what do you guys want to hear? Do you guys want to hear something sad? Do you guys want to hear something happy? Do you guys want to hear something? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one about okay, this is a poem Imam Shafi'i, yeah, where it's talking about like traveling. So he says, تغرب عن الأوطان في طلب العلا وسافر ففي الأسفار 5 فوائد تفرج هم واكتساب معيشة وعلم وآداب وصحبة ماجد وإن قيل في الأسفار ذل ومحنة وقطع الفيافي واكتساب الشدائد فموت الفتى خير له من حياته بدار هوان بين واش وحاسد. Some good points. So this is basically this is I'm going to finish on this, guys. Yeah, so I'm just going to read this and finish on this. So this is a poem about traveling. 5 benefits of traveling. Yeah. تغرب عن الأوطان في طلب العلا. تغرب means, like the Arabs used to say, go to the west, like travel. So تغرب, travel. عن الأوطان, from your homelands. في طلب العلا, in seeking for the highest things, like the best things, knowledge and wealth, etc. وسافر, and travel. ففي الأسفار 5 فوائد. For indeed, or because on journeys are 5 benefits. Number 1, تفرج هم. Tafarruj means to alleviate, to remove ham, stress. By traveling, you remove stress, because you get a lot of stress by staying at home for too long. Number 2, واكتساب معيشة, and earning a living. So by traveling, you get more opportunities to earn living. Number 3, وعلم, and you get knowledge. Number 4, وآداب, and you learn etiquette, you learn different cultures, you learn things benefit from various cultures. And number 5, وصحبة ماجد, and the company of a honorable person. Like when you travel, you usually find the company of good people. So 5 benefits. وإن قيل في الأسفار ذل ومحنة, and if it is said that on journeys there is humiliation, because sometimes when you travel you have to humiliate yourself, you lose these kind of like all these kind of comforts. ومحنة, and hardships, محنة, tests. Number 3, وقطع الفيافي, and there's also like long distance traveling. Fayafi is fayfa, which means like deserts. And iktisabu shada'id, and earning hardship. If people do say that, فَمَوْتُ الْفَتَى خَيْرٌ لَهُ, so Imam Shafi says, then in that case, the death of a person is better for him, min hayatihi, than him staying alive, bidari hawanin, in a land which is humiliating, by staying in a city where you're humiliated, bayna washin, between a person who spreads rumors about you, wa hasidin, and a jealous person. So that's basically Imam Shafi'i. Book review. Oh, come on, man. Okay, so book review. This is a good book. Yeah. For those of you guys, this is basically a translation of Dr. Wahab al-Zuhairi's section on transactions in his book Al-Fiqh al-Islam wa Dillatuhu. Yeah, so it's been translated into English, 2 volumes. It's a very good, and for Hanafis, very, very good. It's got, because it's transactions basically is Hanafi's like forte. And this is why a lot of the Hanafi sort of like mu'amalat governments have adopted Hanafi fiqh in their law, in their policies. So it's a very, very useful book for that. Okay, anyway, Assalamu alaikum Mufti, do you recommend any works for students who want to master Ilm al-Arud? Yeah, I've got a course for it. I actually got a course. If you check out on uruk.com, I've actually designed a course for Ilm al-Arud. But yeah, there's been loads of books on Ilm al-Arud. But the thing is, I think you have to study it first of all. Yeah, and on YouTube, there's lots of scholars who have done like work on it as well. Jazakallah khair, guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and inshallah until next week. So what do you guys think? Yeah, we're gonna keep it at about 1.5 hours, 2 hours like that. We're gonna keep it like that. These and the Curious Cat ones, the ones that I can just quickly answer on Curious Cat, I'll just knock them out and answer them there. Otherwise, I'll just leave that, inshallah. Okay, man raqa faqa. Okay, you like that one? Yeah, I think I'm gonna make some more of those. Ibn Qayyim's one, that was. And you have a good sleep as well, Faris Khan. Jazakumullah khair. Take care, guys. Remember your du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.